At Category 5 TV, we trust our files to solid-state drives by Kingston Technology. Whether for your server, laptop, or desktop computer, you'll experience improved performance and reliability. Kingston is with you. Get ready, it's time for the tech. Welcome to the show, everybody. Nice to see you. Great to have you here. Jeff! Hey!
Glad to be back.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
It's been a while.
It feels like it's been forever.
It really, really does. It was Christmas episode we did, and
Yep.
here we are now.
He's already used the cliche behind the scenes tonight that, oh, I haven't seen you since last year.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ontario, Canada, where we broadcast from, is going into a state of emergency as of tonight at midnight. So
Second state of emergency.
yeah, so that means the show is going to be a little bit odd over the next few weeks if we're able to broadcast at all. So just know that we're going to be here as best we can within the rules that are put forth by our government, and we're doing everything that we can to be safe. I was saying to our viewers before the show that even though Jeff and I are not wearing masks right now, we're being very, very careful. We are socially distant as best we can be, and we're wearing masks every other time behind the scenes. And as of tonight, I guess that's it. It's like masks are mandated and required by law. So any shows between now and I guess mid-February, we're going to be masked up.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's true. And because of like businesses have to be closed by 8 o'clock, all that kind of stuff.
That's tough, yeah.
That's going to make it even tougher for the show because we start broadcasting at 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yep.
And usually we run an hour and a half.
Yep.
So even that.
Or if it's a night like this.
a little bit later. Yeah.
Hey, I want to say hi to our Discord, our IRC. I do see Noman5, Myortex, and Meridroid is joining us. Hey, the Foo is here. Sadsack963. Who else have we got? I saw Marshman a little bit earlier saying hi in the chat.
Albuquerque Turkey's in there.
Hey, Albuquerque Turkey. We've got a couple of folks that haven't yet set up a name. We've got some guests in our IRC that automatically pump into our Discord. Note that if you want to participate in the show's broadcast, so while we're broadcasting, recording live, all you have to do is go to our website, category5.tv, click on Interact, and follow the invite to our Discord server. That's a great way to participate. Or if you're old school and you prefer IRC, you can join us on Freenode as well. We're Category 5 on Freenode.
Could you imagine if we went really old school and had an ICQ chat?
Yeah. ICQ still exists.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
Man.
Becca and I, so Becca, our news anchor, we met on IRC.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
And then she married me. So
well then.
It worked out.
That's exciting.
So IRC has a very special place in my heart.
Wow, look at that. But, speaking of Discord and our social, it's not just for live shows. Like, Discord is happening all the time. Like, our channel's just hopping. We have got, my goodness, there's got to be, what,
25,000.
Yeah, 25 different channels within the Cat5 Discord. And it's not just tech. Like, we've got recipes and food in there. It's like
we sure do.
Your entire life.
Every time I barbecue, I'm posting pictures.
I know. That's great. There's so much good stuff in there. So even if you can't catch the show live, it's a great spot to be throughout the week, especially for tech questions and things that are happening on the fly. So you want to get connected. I like it.
All right. Thanks to our patrons for supporting us over the past several months. Just want to say, hey, that's a really cool way to support Category 5 TV. Head on over to patreon.com/category5. We could really use a boost in our patronage. So if you have the means to be able to support us at this time, we're never the kind of show who's like, pay. No, we're a free show. And we want to be able to do this for free for all time.
That's right.
And in order to do this for free, we do require the support of our viewers. So when you have the means and you're able to do that, we'd ask you to go over to patreon.com/category5. There's a couple of things with the pandemic and the lockdown here in Ontario that have come to light that would be really, really helpful for us to be able to purchase, that would make things easier for us to broadcast in a socially distant and safe way. And those things cost a lot of money when you're upgrading studio equipment and things like that. So, so you can help us to be able to do those things and just to stay strong on the air and be able to offer this show free of charge.
Yeah.
To everybody, to the world. And I mean that. You think, well, they want money, but so that's not free anymore. But really, I mean, like, this is season 14, episode 8. And you can go and you can download all 14 seasons on our BitTorrent server.
That's right.
And watch all the old videos. Some of the tech is obsolete, but hey, it's a lot of fun to see how we've grown and how we've evolved the show over the past 14 years. And we couldn't do that without the support of our viewers.
It's true.
Well, Jeff, back on, what was it? Episode 33 of last season. So season 13, episode number 33, you and I had a discussion about Minecraft.
Yes.
Do you remember that discussion?
Yeah, on my Raspberry Pi 3.
Yep.
My kids had been asking for a Minecraft server, so we had used some subscription-based services online, some paid, and then I'm like, well, you know what? It's just a couple of us. I really don't want to have to pay for this monthly. So then we found a free one. And I was like, oh, I got to log in, got to turn it on and off every time. I'm like, what if I could just make my own server at home on a Raspberry Pi 3? So I tried it. Wasn't great. It did not perform well. Like, it took forever to load in, very laggy. You know, creeper comes along, blows you up, and then it takes like 30 seconds for you to realize you've been killed.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was not good.
Bad.
So then I tried the Odroid XU4.
Yep.
And it was better, but not great.
Yeah, the XU4 is a fantastic board, but it still only has 2 gigs of RAM.
Right, and I think that was the big problem.
That is like the bare absolute minimum for a Minecraft server. And when you realize that, hey, if you are just meeting the minimum, you're not going to see the performance that you could have.
And it probably would have been okay for a single user. Like if I was playing a single game.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But you want something for the kids to play.
Like I've got 3 kids at home and they're like, oh, Dad, let's do this. And so I'm like, okay. But of course for them, they want to do really cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's, you know, lots of redstone, whatever. Yeah. So that takes a lot of processing power and you need a lot of, you know, RAM for that. So it wasn't great. So, you know, we debated on the Raspberry Pi 4.
Yep.
But I don't have one.
Okay, I do.
Yeah, you do.
And I think one of the things that appeals to me most about hosting my own Minecraft server versus your original approach, which was to use online services, is that I hold the files.
Yes.
So when you talk about a free Minecraft server, those fly by night. Like they work one day and then all of a sudden your world is gone.
That's right.
And that means, I mean, us dads know, that means crying kids.
Absolutely. But on top of that, the free ones are built off ads. That's how they do revenue. So every time my kids want to play, like I've got to load up, I got to go in, and it's just that inundation with ads. And I'm like, I'm not like a deep state guy where it's like, oh, it's watching us. But I like to avoid the ads as much as possible.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And you know, I talk about the kids crying. It's not about not having the Minecraft server. It's about they put a lot of work and a lot of heart and excitement and fun into building up the world.
Yes.
Building their builds. And it's really heartbreaking if they lose access to that. So using a Raspberry Pi 4, the question becomes, well, is it powerful enough?
Right.
You talked about the Pi 3, which is definitely not.
No.
1 gig of RAM? No way.
Yeah.
Odroid XU4, you're approaching a reasonably usable Minecraft server, but you're still limited by that 2 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
Throw a Raspberry Pi 4 in the mix with 4 gigs or 8 gigs of RAM.
Which one do you have?
4 gigs.
You have the 4, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at buying the 8 gig.
Ooh. Well, let's take a look at my Raspberry Pi 4, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually see if a Raspberry Pi 4 is capable of doing this for us, running a Minecraft server. And I don't mean just running one, but is it going to be good enough?
Yes.
All right, so step 1 is that we're going to find out how to set this up. Step 2, we're going to actually play with it.
Yeah.
See how it works. So let's head on over to here, and I'm going to see how we can get this thing up and going.
Okay.
It's a common question we receive, and we've even discussed it internally. Can a Raspberry Pi microcomputer power a Minecraft server? Well, today we're going to answer that question and provide you with all the tools that you need to get up and running. The links are in the description below, but please follow along with us throughout this video, and you're going to learn how to set it up and see how it performs. Here's what you're going to need. A Raspberry Pi 4 with either 4 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, a very good power supply, and active cooling since we're going to be overclocking your Raspberry Pi. To help get things started quickly, we'll use a micro SD card, but I want to be able to trust this storage. So that's why I'm going to go with a Kingston Endurance card, which is built specifically for write-intensive applications. This feature is brought to you by Ameridroid.com. Get your Raspberry Pi 4 or other single-board computer to power your Minecraft server at Ameridroid.com. American-based electronic sales, shipping, and support. Visit Ameridroid.com. Now, first up, you're going to need to install a Debian-based headless distro. So that means no desktop environment and no extra apps running. For the Raspberry Pi 4, the 64-bit of the Raspberry Pi OS Lite isn't available yet, so for now we're going to have to stick with the 32-bit. And this means that we're limited to only 4 gigabytes of RAM for Java. So buying the 8 gigabyte Pi 4 right away is fine for future readiness, and the installer will accommodate this just fine and allow you to later upgrade to use more RAM once the 64-bit OS is released. But for now, there's really no advantage of the 8 gigabyte model over the 4 gigabyte. Because I needed a fancy name for the project, and because this installer is built to work on any adequate SBC, such as the Pine 64, Rock Pro 64, I'm calling the project Pinecraft. It's simply not limited to the Raspberry Pi. So just make sure whatever system you intend to run it on is going to be dedicated and has at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. Let's get started turning our Raspberry Pi 4 into a dedicated Minecraft server. I've connected to my Raspberry Pi OS with SSH, and the first thing that we need to do is install Git. So that's sudo apt install Git. Say yes. That's going to download Git and install it for us. And now Git is going to be a command on our system. So I can go git clone https://github.com/cat5tv/ and then the name of this project, which is Pinecraft. Like Minecraft, but it's going to work on Pine 64 boards as well. So hit enter. Now we've got a folder. Keep in mind I was in my home folder when I ran that command, so where I am now is /home/pi/pinecraft. Now notice I'm using the Pi user because I'm using a default install, so please, for goodness sake, as the Pi user, type passwd. It's like password, but spelt kind of weird. And then hit enter. Enter your current password, which is Raspberry, and enter a new password. Please, for goodness sake, do that because that is just common sense. Never use the default password. That's one of the first things we're going to do. So I digress. Look at the folder here that we've git cloned, and you see a file called install. I'm not going to show you everything and explain everything here, but if you have any questions, get onto our Discord, go to category5.tv, click on interact. But what I've done here is I've basically scripted the entire process of setting up this Minecraft server using Spigot so that you don't have to go through each of these steps manually, and so that this video isn't 3 hours long. So this is basically the automated process of how I was able to get Minecraft up and running on a Raspberry Pi as well as possible. So it overclocks, it automatically does a whole bunch of stuff, detects how much RAM you have, what kind of operating system you're running, and so on and so forth. I'd encourage you anytime you're going to run any kind of installer script, hey, look at the code, find out what it's actually doing, and see. This also gives you a chance to trust what I'm doing here, but also it just is really good information and shows you exactly what I'm doing. But this is basically just the installer, the script that's going to do it. It is well commented, so I think you won't have any trouble figuring out what it is that I'm doing there. However, if you have any questions, let us know. All right, so let's run it. I'm going to go sudo, because I need to be the root user in order to run this, /install, because it's in the current folder, and it is executable, and then I need to specify my Linux user. So this is going to be who is going to be running the Minecraft server, because we don't want that to be root, right? So if I type Robbie, for example, you'll see that Robbie does not exist. I haven't created that user. The only user on my Raspberry Pi is the Pi user, which is default, because it's just like a vanilla Raspberry Pi OS. So I'm going to instead type sudo./install pi and hit enter, and there we go, it's running. So first thing we need to do is accept Mojang's EULA, the end user license agreement. So I've included the link there for you. You have to accept that in order to install. Now this is warning me, this is very important. Now, while my Raspberry Pi server that we're going to be looking at with the gameplay in just a few moments time is a Raspberry Pi with 4 gigs of RAM, I'm right now running this on one with 8 gigs of RAM for the demonstration. So it's detected up here that I'm running the 32-bit OS, so I'm not actually going to be able to get all 8 gigs of RAM. I'm only going to be able to use 4, which is capping it off at 2.5 gigabytes of RAM being used by the game. So that's fine, it's still going to run great, but do keep in mind, if you've gone and bought the 8 gig version of the Raspberry Pi 4, you have to use the 64-bit OS. But why am I using the 32-bit OS then? It's because they haven't released the 64-bit Lite OS yet. So that is, the desktop is currently in beta, and we will inevitably see the Lite version of the 64-bit. So keep that in mind. Keep watch for it. You can install this on your Pi right now, then back it up and then reinstall with the 64-bit once it's released, and you'll be able to take advantage of all that RAM. In the meantime, it's going to overclock to 1.9 gigahertz. The default is 1.5, so that's pretty good, but conservative because I don't want to void your warranty and I don't want to cause you any trouble with stability or anything like that. So it's just warning me that I'm going to overwrite the config.txt file, which inevitably, when it does that, it also backs it up. So keep that in mind. You will find a new copy that has a date stamp in your /boot on that drive. So if you get stuck, you're good to go. It's going to install the server now. It's going to go through anything that it needs to do. First of all, it's downloading the installer for Spigot, and it's going to go through this process. This is going to take some time, so I'm just going to warp through time. And there we have it. All the steps have been automated with the pinecraft install script, and we're ready to start playing. It's really important for you to know and remember that you can't shut down or reboot a Minecraft server in the traditional Linux way. If you do, you're going to lose all the blocks that are in memory, possibly a day or more of gameplay. So Pinecraft includes a couple handy scripts, including one called Reboot and one called Stop. Minecraft is all set and ready to go at load as soon as you reboot. But of course we need to reboot, so we need to do that safely using the command sudo ~/minecraft/reboot. It's going to store all the blocks to disk and reboot the Pi. That's the command you're going to use from now on. Similarly, the stop command will safely store your blocks and stop the Minecraft server, but leave it running so that you can either then halt the system or run a backup or something like that. So both of these commands can take several minutes. Just keep that in mind because they're going to be storing several days possibly worth of blocks that are in your RAM to disk. So now that the new Raspberry Pi Minecraft server is rebooted, it's time, it's like the moment of truth. Let's try to connect. Absolutely flawless. Fantastic. Well, when we come back after the break, we're going to give it a real world test, connecting several players to a Raspberry Pi 4 Minecraft server. Stick around. All right, it's time to check out the gameplay performance. Notice that we've got the CPU and RAM stats at the bottom of your screen, and that'll remain for the whole demonstration. All right, so I'm here at Jeff's place, and just going to kind of quickly run around to show you that this is performing very, very well. So this is a Raspberry Pi 4 is the server, and I've overclocked it to 1.95 gigahertz. It's got 4 gigs of RAM and a Kingston Endurance micro SD card. All right, so I wanted to show the performance with just me. Everything looks pretty good, and here at Jeff's place, Jeff, I guess things should be performing poorly here, if anywhere, right? because you've got all these animals and stuff and lots of mobs.
That's correct. Yeah, I tried to build a base that was busy enough with lots of elements, and so there's lots of animals making noise in the background. I wanted to try and tax the server out.
Yeah, okay. So let's see what happens as we start to add players, because I think that was one of the questions that came up when you and I were first discussing this project was, how many players are going to be able to come on here?
All right. And I think I'm last to join.
There's Mangled Fox 70. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Jeff. Maybe it'd be nice if you could join, eh? There he is.
Just a random voice.
All right. Hey, the one. So check this out. So we've got. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people online at once on a Raspberry Pi 4 server.
And a chicken and a whole bunch of animals in the background. And I'm not seeing a single glitch at all.
No glitches.
Bye.
It's hard to see right now because it is late at night. And in order to... Wow, you're good. In order to speed through the night, we all have to have a bed. And Jeff only has the one bed at his place, so...
Yes. All right.
All right.
So we can
follow the one. Oh. Okay, you've got a shield, I do not, but I'm going to be like your videographer. Nice.
Done. Oh, creepers, let's avoid that.
Yeah, these are the guys that if you get too close, they explode. Oh, you're being followed by a spider, too.
And a bunch of creepers.
Oh,
that was effective.
And I see an Enderman, the shadow of an Enderman. Oh, somebody's... Oh. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Chaos ensues.
Yummy.
Oh, no. Okay, and I used the bed at your place, so...
Oh, you're human.
Oh, and there's zombies everywhere, and I have no weapons, dude.
Okay. We may have to just...
I'm coming. Wait out the night?
Yeah, you may have to. Oh my goodness.
There's an Enderman.
Yes! I got an iron sword! Finally!
Congratulations.
Do you guys see my stuff?
Did you have iron sword, pants, and shoes?
Yeah, exactly, but then I died out in front of my house.
I think Hinger may have collected your stuff, Bald Nerd.
I just killed a zombie and it had my... No, I did not pick up anything. All that I have is rotten flesh.
Oh, I got it. Here's my stuff.
Oh, that was from the zombie. That was from the zombie, I think.
So, Bald Nerd, did you have this armor here that Hinger's wearing?
The Hinger is wearing? Yes.
That's the armor that the zombie dropped.
No, that was the armor that I dropped.
Yeah, the zombie picked it up.
I did not know zombies could pick up wood.
Our viewers can see that the performance is like, this is probably better than More Timer, you would know because you've played on a lot of online servers. How's the performance of our Minecraft server on a Raspberry Pi compared to some of those online servers?
Better, actually.
This is better?
Yeah, I would agree. I have...
That's what I've been told.
There's way less players, though.
Well, there is, but I mean, I have a free server that I've used with my kids, and we get lag issues when it's just the 4 of us on. So the fact that this is a Raspberry Pi and there's, 9 of us? It's
Sorry,
phenomenal.
my internet just dropped out, so I lost you for a second there. You were talking, Jeff?
Oh, I was just saying that I have a free server that I use with my kids.
Oh, okay, like online, like a cloud server?
Yeah, online.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is, it can be quite laggy sometimes when it's just the 4 of us. So this performs exceptionally better than that.
Yeah,
and I've also paid for servers where it's, $60 a year, and this is better performance. You don't have much in the way of armor, but you interested in following me into the Nether just for a quick tour?
Sure, because that should be a performance hit, right? That's loading another world. Yep. And then we're going to have multiple people in that world and multiple people in this one.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So instantaneous load. So just be careful where you walk because you don't want to fall into the lava.
Yeah, I'll say. All right. Oh man. So look at the world gem. Now, why is it? That's not snow. That's like from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
The
it's
weird
like
stuff
ash.
that's just kind of floating. Yeah, okay. I'm just astounded that.
Don't swim in lava. That is not recommended.
What was
Where
that?
did you die?
The nugget.
Were you here with us?
Yes.
All right. I am so
what?
impressed with how well this world gens. Like, there's zero issues.
I was expecting. Now I have no experience with Minecraft, but I've seen the lag that causes the world gen to kind of stutter.
Yeah.
On other servers. So I was expecting that because this is just a single board computer,
That's right.
but it's running great.
It's running very, very well.
Apparently this is the place to stand. I'm like safe from the rain right here.
Oh.
All around me.
Whoa. Whoa.
You fell.
Yeah, I put a cactus on top and it collapsed.
What?
I
Yeah.
recorded.
I would avoid against touching cactus.
Yeah.
No, it's not the cactus that killed me. I had cactus in my inventory and then I dropped them on the ground. And I placed it on the ground on top of the sand that I was standing on. And then the sand collapsed and then I fell into the whatever it is.
Yes.
You know what I'm hearing here, Jeff?
What?
Like, I mean, we're the dads that are, you know, the performance is really, really great on a single board computer, but the kids are having fun.
Well, exactly. I've got my 3 kids sitting beside me, and they're having a blast. So
Yeah.
this is good.
Awesome.
I think it's a mission success, my friend.
Hooray!
So the next step for my Raspberry Pi in order to boost the performance even further is I want to get an NVMe to USB 3 UASP adapter. So
Wow,
that's
okay.
going to give me a solid state drive that I can run the Minecraft world off of.
Right.
So that when it does that flush, the storage, in this case the SD card, doesn't get choked.
Right.
Because an SD card, especially on a Raspberry Pi, which does not have a really great micro SD card reader writer, it's pretty slow by contrast to NVMe for sure.
Right.
It should get rid of that bottleneck.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be an interesting test.
And I mean, this was done on a Raspberry Pi 4 with
Yeah.
4 gig of RAM.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much better it would be on an 8 gig RAM. Because
Possible, yeah.
I mean, we didn't tax out the RAM at any point.
No, and I
But
was
having
watching
that extra
that.
buffer.
I was watching HTOP there and just kind of keeping an eye on things. CPU got pretty hot at
Yeah.
some points, and because I only overclocked, I was a little conservative in my case, overclocking to 1.95 gigahertz. You could go higher than that, but then you risk stability issues and
Yeah.
things like that, or the single board computer crashing. But the other opportunity that we have is with the Raspberry Pi 400, which does have a stock 1.8 gigahertz processor,
okay.
which we could then bump up to maybe 2 or 2.2 gigahertz.
That might make a difference.
So that might be cool too. So I mean, you can do this on the same method can be translated to any single board computer. It's just
Yeah.
making sure that you've got enough power and enough RAM.
But the fact is, it worked.
It worked,
And it worked
really
well.
really well.
And I mean, we didn't do the comparison on the show, but having done it on a Pi 3 and an
Yep.
Odroid XU4, I was expecting it to not go well.
And you mentioned that Mortimer mentioned that it's even working better than the online services.
Yes, I would agree with that. Like, especially, I mean, at the top of the show we were talking about, or I was saying how I'd use some free services, and the free services performed worse than the Pi. And
so you mean the Pi performed better than the free services?
Yeah, and even some of
I like to put a positive spin on things.
Even the paid services, like $5 a month, stuff like that. Like, the bottom end, I would say that they were comparable, maybe. Like the Pi kept up and did well, and there was what, 8 of us on there. Something like that.
Isn't that unreal, folks?
Like,
and we did not tax it out. Like, there's room for more. So hey, let's do it. Let's LAN party.
I'm game.
Check out the links below. Head on over to ameridroid.com to get your single board computer. Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigs of RAM is what we tested on tonight. And anything, as Jeff is saying, get the 8 gig if you want. And you're going to probably even see better performance than we saw, which is pretty astonishing. And there are other single board computers and other products there as well. And the links below also contain my script to set it up. Okay. More information as well. So if you're not seeing that, if you're watching this on cable TV or anything like that, head on over to our website, category5.tv, and just do a quick search for Minecraft Raspberry Pi, and you'll find the video with those links and the instructions and the script to install it and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. All right, we've got to head over to the newsroom. Here's Becca.
Here's what's coming up in the Category5.tv newsroom. The first ever Super Nintendo World theme park is set to open in February. Microsoft has fixed a bizarre Windows 10 error. Mozilla's privacy VPN service is now available on macOS and Linux. And Intel's newly announced 12th Gen chip hybrid is set to compete with both ARM and Apple Silicon. Stick around, the full details and this week's Crypto Corner are coming up.
This is the Category5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
If you enjoy your weekly tech news with a slight Linux bias, become part of our fleet. Choose your rank at patreon.com/category5. From the newsroom, I'm Becca Ferguson. While a Mario-themed Switch has been announced, we all hope for the release of a new 4K Nintendo Switch Pro this year. Mario-themed news keeps flowing out of Nintendo as they continue celebrating the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Bros., which took place in September. We've seen the revisited Nintendo Game & Watch, and now Nintendo has announced the new game, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, which they promise is a bigger and badder version of the game originally released for the Wii U. But our focus this week is on something a little different and a whole lot bigger. We talked about it way back on episode 604 in April 2019, but now it's ready. The first ever Super Nintendo World theme park is opening at Universal Studios Japan on February 4th of this year. A newly released sneak peek video tour by Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Mario, Donkey Kong, and The Legend of Zelda, walks you right into the atrium of Princess Peach's castle through a portal-like shimmering green pipe. From there, Miyamoto shows you how to use decorated smart wristbands to collect coins all throughout a colorful, life-size version of the legendary world. Just as in the classic Super Mario Bros. Game, punching up on each question mark block encountered along the way will release the coin straight into your wristband, replete with a satisfying coin-collecting ding. This wearable wristband technology is linked to your smartphone and unlocks the interactive gameplay experience of the park. Combined with the augmented reality experience of themed rides, this promises to be a magical experience for visitors of all ages. One such adventure, Bowser's Castle, is sure to delight with its heavy stone walls, looming staircases, burning wall sconces, dungeon-like doors, and an enormous statue of Bowser in its depths, which, as rumor has it, just might be animated. Here you'll find the entrance doors to an augmented reality Mario Kart ride called Koopa's Challenge, where participants will be able to toss shells and steer about the Mushroom Kingdom. Thomas Garatti, Senior Director, Innovation and Global Executive Producer for Mario Kart, explains guests will put on their headset, which takes them through the Mario Kart universe to experience never-ending excitement and thrills. Chock full of the iconic landscapes, pipes, castles, and the beloved creatures and characters of the Super Mario world, this $580 million project is part of an effort by the Kyoto-based games company to increase falling revenue by expanding its franchises. The park was initially scheduled to open back before the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, but both were delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
While they are doing augmented reality, what I found really intriguing about this video is that it appears like the park is all physical recreations of the gameplay.
Which is totally awesome.
And I was expecting a Nintendo theme park to be like filled with screens and, you know, Nintendo gameplay and everything else, but it's literally taken the like the Mario theme and turned it into a real life park that you can walk through, to the point where one of my favorite parts that were shown in this preview was that at one point you shrink, like Mario shrinks, because all the surroundings become huge.
Yeah, that's right.
They triple in size, and it's like, oh my goodness, the effect is so cool. Like, you want to bring your smartphone and start taking some pictures.
Now, I wonder if there'll be some sort of, like, you know, hey, you can't film this for a while.
I don't know. I doubt it. No, something like this, it's meant for kids.
Well,
it's meant for
80s kids. That's what it's meant for.
That's
it's meant for 80s
true,
kids.
but
it's Super Mario.
It's meant for 80s kids, boomers will say.
Yeah.
To take their Zoomers with them and show them what, you know, it's pretty magical.
I mean, I'm not a huge theme park person. I mean, like, I remember going to Disney as a kid and Universal and all that, and I was like, okay, it's just another place for attractions and rides, whatever.
Sure.
But this is probably the first theme-based park that's legit theme-based that I would probably go to. And simply because it is Mario, and the idea behind it is mind-blowing. Like, the fact that you could take the video game and turn it into a place, and then they hit those elements is so cool. And I like that they've got that interactive component, like with the hitting the coins and all that kind of stuff, because it's not just about going and experiencing it. It's about experiencing it, which takes it to another level.
We went to Lego World years ago, and that was fun. You can go onto our website and do a search for Lego and category5.tv if you want to see it. But we took our kids there, and it was a lot of fun. And it kind of reminded me of that, where you're walking into a world that is just Lego.
That's right.
And you're walking into a world that is just, you are basically transported into these video games that you and I grew up with.
Yeah.
It's so magical.
Now, what I can't wait to find out is who's the first person that's going to slip on a banana peel. And do they get away with saying, oh, it's part of the experience, don't sue us?
The interesting thing about opening a theme park at the beginning of 2021, of course, you know, like Japan, you know, last I saw, we're like Friday, they were at about 8,000 cases.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how are they going to do this? 2 years ago, when they first announced this theme park, there was no pandemic in sight.
Right. But I mean, at this point, the capital's been put in to build it.
And maybe that's it. Like, it's ready.
Yeah.
And when everything is behind us, then, okay, we can all go. But will people go regardless? Probably not, like, not travelers, but locals.
Well, I mean,
I sure would.
We just got stats.
As long as there's social distancing and safety measures put into place, which there will be.
But look at the Christmas holidays here in Canada. Stats just came out that from, was it Canada or Ontario alone, 4,000 people went to Hawaii over the Christmas holidays.
Okay.
And that's in the midst of a global pandemic. So I can imagine people are going to go.
Oh, no. Okay, so stay safe. I'm absolutely certain that Nintendo will, and Universal Studios in general, will have safety precautions in place.
Oh, for sure.
And be following the rules and everything else. But something definitely to look forward to taking the kids to when things are a little bit safer, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Becca.
Future plans include the opening of Super Nintendo World Parks at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, Hollywood, California, and Singapore. Microsoft has fixed Windows 10's 60-second self-destruct. After upgrading to Windows 10 20H2 with the October 2020 update, some Windows 10 users experienced a bizarre Windows 10 error. Without warning, a prompt would appear on their screen to alert them that they had only 60 seconds to save their work before their system would automatically shut down and restart. There was no option to cancel or dismiss the restart, and if a user happened to have stepped away from their computer at the time of the alert, they risked losing important unsaved data by not being quick enough to do anything about it. Microsoft confirmed this back in November, explaining that some Windows 10 updates caused critical issues for certain configurations with the local security authority subsystem service. This was reportedly a filing conflict in the system triggered by changing your local username, especially the main admin account name. If your particular device was affected, this mysterious prompt might have appeared and rebooted your system. These type of issues cropping up following a Windows update can be very frustrating. Have you ever had a Windows update cause you to lose data or functionality? Tell us about it in the comments below. Robbie, have you ever encountered such a thing?
Oh, Becca, I tell you what. Jeff, do you remember our Season 10 pilot episode where we shot...
Gosh, 4 years ago.
Yes, but you'll remember because it's the episode where we shot the entire thing in 360 VR video.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Shooting and producing VR video is very taxing on your computer.
Yeah, oh yeah. You had a ton of work to do.
A ton of work. The rendering process of that episode was more than 24 straight hours just to render out a 1 hour video.
I remember that.
And Windows 10 rebooted midstream.
I forgot about that. It did.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I don't work full time at the studio, and especially then it's like you're there once a week and you expect that, okay, everything's going to be ready, and no, it was sitting at the login prompt and I had lost everything.
Yeah, because you can't just continue halfway through the render.
No, oh no.
It doesn't
No, you
work like
had to
that.
start over. So needless to say, yes, Becca, I have been through similar situations. And I used to use like things like Notepad. I'd have like notes and everything up on my screen about the show as I was editing and things like that. And then I'd head home for the night. And I had that lost a few times as well. And finally I realized, okay, this is not for me. So I saved my work always. And hopefully never have a render interrupted like that.
Oh, man.
Wow. Well, at least this mysterious 60-second self-destruct issue was finally resolved on January 7, 2021. The fix was pushed out automatically, so you don't need to do anything as long as your Windows 10 device gets its Windows updates. However, if you are working with custom media or have updates paused, make sure you update your OS.
60 seconds. That's not enough time. I mean, I would be furious. Thankfully, my system did not have this issue.
Yeah.
But for a while, probably a year, my system wouldn't even do updates.
Oh, really?
It would try and do it, and then it would crash every time.
Oh, wow.
And then like a month and a half ago, it started working. So I didn't have to go through this.
The worst thing is when that update comes up on the screen and you can't get out of it. It's like full screen and it blocks everything. So you might be in the middle of something and suddenly you're locked out. Now this is a case, once again, where Microsoft has updated Windows 10 and introduced a problem that previously didn't exist.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I don't have to say that bugs me. I think that bugs all of us, that kind of thing still happens. Yeah. But we've been through this. It seems like it's a recurring theme that Microsoft keeps doing this, where they're breaking systems. And
at least they're consistent. You know what you're getting. Bugs.
You know what you're getting. This is where that slight Linux bias comes in, and we say, hey, check out Linux Mint. Check out Ubuntu. Check out Ubuntu Mate. What else can we say? Debian. Definitely Debian.
Just about anything.
Just not CentOS.
That's right. Yeah, it's I don't know why this stuff doesn't get caught first by Windows.
I gotta hand it to them. I mean, as software developers, it's virtually impossible to think of every case, every scenario. Sometimes it has to do with the particular graphics drivers you have, and they just can't test everything. But in IT, one of the practices that we have is, okay, we're going to make a big change to the network. We have 1,200 computers. We're going to push this out to 5 isolated systems first. We're going to see how it goes. And then we wait it out and we see how everything goes.
Right.
Great. Okay, a couple of days have passed. Let's push that out to 30 systems. And let's see if any complaints or problems come in. And as we work through those things, then we feel confident and we can push it out to the 1,200 systems.
Right. But you've got Windows is on probably billions of computers.
Right.
So why do they not have a test group?
Well, why don't they run their update on
All of their systems.
1% of
Sure.
Windows 10 systems?
Yeah.
Let's release this update to 1%.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
But could you imagine?
I'd hate to be the 1%.
Yeah.
But at least then they could fix it before pushing it out to billions of people.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm
Billions.
sure this kind of stuff.
I can exaggerate. It's
You know,
okay.
like it was isolated cases. I mean, I say that
Sure,
loosely.
yeah.
It wasn't every system.
Yeah.
But imagine if like a government defense computer was running Windows and they were middle of something important. It's like, bloop, you've got 60 seconds. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Enter the disarm codes now.
exactly.
You have 120 seconds to disarm.
Yeah.
You have 60 seconds before I reboot.
Oh, man.
Boy. Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but at least they got it fixed quickly. I will give, Microsoft that as they fixed it quick.
So hopefully,
compared to some other issues.
hopefully you didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
Mozilla's privacy VPN service is now available on both Mac OS and Linux. And Intel's newly announced 12th gen chip hybrid is set to compete with both ARM and Apple Silicon. Becca has these stories coming up. Also, Robert is here with the Crypto Corner, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the world of cryptos and welcome back to the Crypto Corner. Today I'd like to focus on something that a lot of people are asking us. I'd like to get involved in cryptos, but I have no clue how to do that. So let me focus on that today. Let me show you some ideas on how to get involved. And so there are a few components that you have to think of. The first one is an exchange. In other words, you've got your cash and you would like to convert it into cryptos. And for that, you need an exchange. And the one that we recommend is Kraken. So this is the Kraken exchange, kraken.com, Kraken.com. They're by far the best. They also accept US residents. And they have got also the cheapest rates or fees. And also they have got the best servers. So this is the exchange that I recommend. There are others like Bittrex, Coinbase, and so on. But Kraken is, from my point of view, the best one. So you can wire transfer money over from your bank account into Kraken, and then you just have to select the cryptocurrency you want to buy. There are a few categories of cryptocurrencies, basically 3. The first one is Bitcoin, which is the granddad. That's the most stable one. That's the one that just went well above all-time high. And you cannot make big mistakes there. So the fluctuations, of course, will exist there. And as you can see currently, we've got a dip of 25%, which is absolutely normal in this market. But you will not have those 10x or 100x that you might have heard of. The next level is Ethereum, and then the rest falls into the third category. So I, as a beginner, never get involved in the third category because you have to learn first how this market works. It's a little bit like horse racing. Yeah, so if you go to a horse race and you start betting on a horse, then of course you will lose your money if you have got no clue which horse performs which way. You can bet on any horse and the hope that that horse will win, but the likelihood is very small. And for that, you have to do some research. Yeah? And the research is also very simple, much simpler than with traditional, in the traditional market with stocks and so on. And so if you go into CoinGecko.com, which is our favorite directory where you find all the big cryptocurrencies, and then you select one that you like. Let's say you've heard of, let's take here, Celsius Network, that they've got a good potential and so on. And so you've got two options here. First, you can listen to all those experts that are not real experts. Yeah, I mean, you've got a few people that have got insider knowledge, but you'll hear also opposite opinion from other people. And there's nobody in this market that can predict how the values are going to behave in the near future. So you need to rely on your own research, and that's really, really simple. So first part, what you have to do is you go on to CoinGecko.com, you click on the favorite currency that you're interested in, and in here you've got all the information that you need. Yeah, so if you scroll a little bit down, you see, of course, the trading view, and then you've got here the all-time high. So all-time high on Celsius was $6.82 on the 3rd of January 2001, so 8 days ago, and the all-time low is beginning of the end of 2018, so about 2 years ago. That was the all-time low. Which is interesting to know that, so you know if there is a big potential in regards to the price. Then here, a little bit further up, you've got the markets, and the markets just tell you where you can buy those. Yeah? And this is also important. So for example, you've got Uniswap here. You can go, of course, directly to Uniswap and buy it there. You run the risk that you fall into a hoax, because not everybody, I mean, you can launch a Celsius Network token on Uniswap. So the best way is to get through CoinGecko. You click on this field here that will redirect you to Uniswap, and there you can then exchange your Ethereum, for example, against Celsius tokens. So that's one way. The markets is where you find the liquidity. Next one in regards to your research is you go onto their website and just check on how this looks. I mean, is this something you would like to get involved in? Is this something that appeals to you personally? Do some research. What are the people that are involved? How are the developers? All those things. Next is you go into Twitter or Telegram, both. Not so much Facebook, not so much Reddit, but Twitter is definitely important, and Telegram is important. Telegram is people like you and I, that Telegram is a group where we meet and we discuss things. Yeah, so if you've got a question around the Celsius network, regardless of what question that might be, you go into Telegram, you ask that question, you'll get for sure a very swift answer. So that's Telegram. Twitter is more of, well, I mean, you know Twitter, so I don't have to tell you anything about that. So that's basically the research. So the research revolves around the product. Yeah, does the product appeal to you? Then the users, how many users are there? Is this a coin that only few users are interested in? Then I would be careful, because you know that if there are not many people involved, then it's unlikely that this thing will go 10x, 100x or whatever. And then the utility of the coin. Yeah, so what can you do with it? Is there already an example, a sample? So this is different to the traditional market, because the traditional market is always around the valuation of the company, management, and also key figures of the company. Yeah, and you buy a share in the company. That's completely different in this market here. Yeah, this market is built on hype. We're currently in a bubble. Yes, it is a bubble, and it will burst at one day, like they always do in the crypto market. And so you only work towards this bubble. Yeah, and once this bubble bursts, the equation is a different one. You have to change your mind shift at that stage. When will that be? Nobody knows. But until then, this is what we recommend to you. So get an account on Kraken, buy with your fiat the currency that you like, do a research beforehand. If you're a complete newbie, focus only on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Don't touch the others. Because you might make big mistakes, like with horse races. Yeah, so you can make big mistakes there too if you bet on a horse that nobody ever heard of. So that's basically from my point of view, just showing you a little bit on how to get involved in this. I didn't touch anything in regards to wallets or other things. That will come at another stage. So focus on the exchange, get your tokens, currencies purchased on that exchange, but do your research beforehand. So that's it for me. It's an exciting market, as you can see. We've been saying that all along the time. So I hope you get involved. Not financial advice, of course. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching. Please leave us a like and subscribe, and come back soon next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Robert. Just a reminder that we're not providing financial advice, as he mentioned, but we're just sharing what's happening in the cryptocurrency markets. Always remember that the cryptocurrency market is always changing. It's always volatile. So only invest what you can afford to lose.
Yes.
Here's Becca.
Thank you, Robbie. Mozilla's Privacy VPN service is now available on macOS and Linux. Mozilla VPN launched in July, but only for Windows 10 or Android or iOS devices. The new availability on Linux not only opens Mozilla VPN up for Linux desktop users, but it's our hope that this will also mean the service will be available in the budding Linux-based smartphone market, with devices such as Librem 5 and PinePhone gaining in popularity. For now, though, the system requirements seem to hint to Linux compatibility exclusive on Ubuntu. We'd love to know what the appeal of a VPN is for you. Is privacy of ultimate interest? Or are you hoping to gain access to services that aren't available in your area? Or maybe a little of both? Comment below and let us know. Mozilla VPN uses WireGuard to encrypt your network activity and hide your IP address with no bandwidth restrictions. They also boast that, unlike some VPN services, they do not log your internet usage. Mozilla VPN costs just $5 per month and allows you to use it across up to 5 devices. The service is available in the US, the UK, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, and Malaysia, with more regions coming soon.
It's amazing what you can get for a $5 these days.
It's true.
No, that wasn't quite a plug, but yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, $5, that's pretty competitive. So, and Mozilla is obviously a household name that that we can all know and trust. So, it's pretty great. But I think the key thing here, Jeff, and Becca touched on it, but the real sense that I get from Mozilla VPN is that they are aiming to be truly private. Yes. If you will, in that they are not collecting the data of what you're using the VPN for.
Correct.
And so, you know, that has all kinds of, you know, that can be good and that can be bad. However, from a privacy perspective, because VPNs are meant to be private, it's important to realize that a lot of the affordable or free, that's even better air quotes, free VPN services that are out there, a lot of them track you and monitor what you're doing and log it and sell the data. And so when you're using a service that's meant to give you anonymity and they're logging it, that kind of defeats the purpose, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that Mozilla has really stepped up to say, hey, for $5 a month, we're going to give this to you, and we're not going to monitor you. We're not going to log what it is that you're doing. VPNs can be very, very helpful. We talked about proxies on the show before, and it's sort of a similar idea, but a VPN allows you to basically place your IP elsewhere in the world. So that means even though I'm here in Barrie, Ontario, Canada, I can go on the internet and any website or service that I use will think that I'm in sunny California.
Yes.
And so that can be good from like a privacy perspective because they can't tell that I'm from Barrie, Ontario, Canada, but also it can allow me to access services that I can't normally access.
Yeah.
Up here in Canada, for example, we have different services than in America.
Yes.
So, and sometimes it is crippled services. And so that can kind of stink. And you know, maybe there's a gray area there, and I don't want to get too far into that because it is a little bit of a legal gray area, but we understand what it means. And but where it can be helpful as well is if by an incident that is not malicious, you get blocked on a service.
Yes.
then you can change your location to that service using a VPN or a proxy, but using a VPN in order to be able to continue using that service. And a good example of that would be even so much as where I myself from home have been working on Category 5 TV and accidentally put in the wrong password.
Yeah. Yeah.
My firewall says, oh, somebody's trying to hack in, block that IP address. So then I'll use the VPN service in order to actually do my work. So that's a good example of where I don't want them to be tracking how I'm accessing my backend.
Yeah.
I want to be able to log in even though I'm locked out, because I'm going to have to go into the studio and unlock my IP from the firewall because I just lost access.
Yes.
Or I can use the VPN to get in, unlock my access.
See, and that's
right? There's
great.
a lot of good use cases.
I mean, with my work, I view a lot of training videos and whatnot, and there's a couple times I've tried to view different training videos on different services.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes, sorry, this is blocked. You can't view it in your country.
Sure.
And I'm like, why? It's a training video. It's not like it's a. So I've had to use VPN for that. But as well, interestingly enough, at our church, we bought our internet service is an LTE, but the modem that we got is, or sorry, not the modem, the
router.
No, the SIM card that's in our modem, because we can take the modem wherever we want, is a US-based SIM card.
Oh.
So even though it's operating in Canada, it registers as an American device.
Oh, wow.
And so we need to use a VPN to access some of our services in Canada.
In Canada, wow.
Even though, like, our
that makes it even
internet's here.
slower, Jeff.
It really does.
That's another thing about Mozilla's VPN is they do boast that it's fast.
Yes.
Really
and
fast.
I mean, I have, there was a VPN service, you know, you're talking about free services. I purchased one a couple of years ago that it was paid some money for it, but it was a multi-device VPN, so I could use it on my phone, I could use it on my Android box, all that kind of stuff. And great service.
Why would you want, don't answer this, why would you want to put it on your Android box? Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, not for that.
Yeah.
But
we're strictly above board.
Well, for me, it's about, I just don't like to be followed.
You raised a really interesting comment about business, and I'm thinking immediately international business.
Yeah.
And how some services that may be in use by a UK partner, I can't access from here in Canada.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's another legitimate, I'm not being blocked from it because I'm a bad person or a bad guy. No, I'm being blocked from it because it's like region specific.
That's right.
And so with an international business, that can cause problems.
Absolutely. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Yeah,
well, check it out.
It's really interesting to see. I wouldn't have thought of Mozilla for this kind of thing, though.
Yeah, well, they're kind of expanding the line, you know? Got to stay competitive. Stay competitive.
That's right.
Check out the link below if you want to check it out. Here's Becca.
Intel's newly announced 12th Gen chip hybrid is set to compete with both ARM and Apple Silicon. Intel announced at CES just this week that its 12th generation chipset hybrid Alder Lake will integrate Big Little technology, placing it in its closest yet competition with ARM and Apple's M1. With Big Little technology, processors are multi-core, with some cores being high performance while others are high efficiency. This enables the device or desktop to efficiently utilize performance cores versus power-saving cores, depending on each specific function. While Intel's forerunning Lakefield chips also use technology similar to Big Little, they were only for mobile devices. What's so significant here is that the Alder Lake chipset will take the next major leap by becoming the foundation for Intel-powered desktops and laptops as well. This is definitely an exciting step for Intel, but it has a bit of a feeling of being a follower rather than an innovator. How is your faith in Intel these days? Are you considering AMD or ARM, or will you hang tight for the coming Alder Lake performance numbers? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Just like Intel's 11th Gen Tiger Lake chips, the 12th Gen Alder Lake chips will feature an enhanced version of the 10 nanometer superfin designs, which will include new high-power cores called Golden Lake and Gracemont. While some people see this move strictly as a competitive one by Intel, others speculate that the move is to appease stockholders who might be losing faith in a company that seems to lag more and more behind with each passing year. Though delays and long waits are anticipated, Alder Lake chipsets may possibly be available as soon as the second half of this year.
Now, before we comment on this story, I have to give kudos to Becca for making it through, because our cottage is on Eagle Lake.
Okay.
And Eagle in German is Adler.
Oh, okay.
Now, so with a little bit of dyslexia, you're going to take that L and move it before the D, and now it's Alder.
Right.
Alder Lake.
Oh my goodness.
She hit it every time. Didn't once say Adler Lake.
Good on her.
So well done. Big dot little in an Intel processor. I mean, that means, so we were talking multi-core processors. Becca really broke it down, and I'm impressed that big dot little is really revolutionary in that when I'm doing really intensive tasks, I want my system to be performing at its best. I don't care in that moment about energy consumption or
Right.
Reduction in energy. However, when my computer's idle or I'm just surfing the web or whatever, I don't need all that power. I don't need the heat that it generates. So big dot little means rather than throttling your processor, which is the old traditional Intel way, which is, take a 3 gigahertz processor, and when you're using it at its max, it's going to be 3.2 gigahertz, but then when you idle, it's going to go down to 1 gigahertz. And so, that's the old way, throttling. This is multiple cores, and some of the cores, the little ones, are simply more energy efficient. So it will choose based on the task which cores are being utilized for that task.
It's quite interesting.
And that's something that ARM has been doing for a long time. We see it on single board computers. We're talking about the Rock Pro 64. The Rock Pro 64 has 6 cores. It's a single board computer with 2 big cores and 4 little cores.
Yep.
And so it's able to really perform well when it needs to, but then when it needs to be energy efficient or just being used as an idle server, it's going to use a very small little trickle of power.
Right. But that that alludes to what Becca asked in the news there about, are they just kind of following suit, or they're being innovative?
Yeah.
And I have felt that way for a while with Intel. Like
but Mac as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. But for the longest time, Intel was like the one to watch. It was like if something new was coming out, it was Intel. And I feel like that's shifted lately, and they are playing catch up.
But isn't it interesting who it's shifted to?
Right.
Do you know? ARM.
Yeah.
So the new M1 chips from Apple?
ARM-based.
ARM-based.
Yeah.
Intel's new chips are utilizing a similar technology to what ARM is already doing.
And we covered this like a month or so ago. Like, is ARM
We've had this talk because we see this coming. ARM is already huge, but they are taking over.
They are.
And I can't wait to have ARM servers. And this really, we had the discussion about ARM servers in the server room.
Yeah.
It never even crossed my mind about big dot little.
No.
And so now I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
For my Debian web server running on these extremely efficient cores, and then suddenly there's a burst of traffic and MySQL goes crazy, and so it needs to use the big cores. That's a fantastic scenario.
Absolutely.
So I'm loving where that's going. But where is Intel going to fall into all this? It's an interesting thing. And then AMD is doing their own thing, and they're doing really, really well at it.
Yes.
So it's a very competitive market. We're going to see a lot of change in the coming years. What do you think? Hey, Becca mentioned it, but do comment below. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for watching the Category5.tv newsroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And if you appreciate what we do, become a patron at patreon.com/category5. From the Category5.tv newsroom, I'm Becca Ferguson.
We're on Twitter at Category5TV. And once again, just a reminder to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Category5. Great way to support what we do here and help us to keep Category 5 free for all time.
Yeah.
And for all people. It costs a lot of money to do this, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you to our patrons. We appreciate you very, very much. That's all the time that we have, Jeff. And
Great show.
We don't really know what the coming weeks are going to hold.
No.
Follow us on social media. Get onto our Discord. You're going to be able to communicate with us and chat with us and find out, hey, what's going on with Category 5? We're here, not necessarily physically, but the show will go on. It's just that Ontario, Canada is about to enter an emergency state of lockdown. And so we're not sure what that means for us just yet, but we look forward to seeing you next time, whenever that is. That's right. So take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you soon.
Bye.